Good morning, Manhattan, and a huge hello to our listeners joining us from all corners of the globe. You are tuning in to Growth English Podcast, the podcast where we don't just teach you English, we help you build a better version of yourself. I'm Emma, your co host, and I'm looking out at a very gray, very busy morning here in New York City.
Good morning, Emma. It's a pleasure to be here in the studio. There's a certain energy in the city today, isn't there? Everyone is rushing, everyone is focused, and everyone looks a little bit tired.
Looking included, Liam. I think that's the perfect way to start today's episode. Many of our listeners are just like the people down there on Lexington Avenue. They are working hard, they are juggling family life, and they are also trying to master English. It's a lot to handle.
It really is. And that's exactly why we created this space. We know that for our A1 to B1 learners, listening to a podcast is a double win. You are training your ears to catch the natural rhythm of American English, but more importantly, you're absorbing ideas that can actually change your daily life.
Exactly. Today, we are diving into a topic that feels like a survival guide for the modern world: cognitive load management.
It sounds like a big scientific term, doesn't it? But cognitive load is simply the amount of mental energy you use every day. In a world of endless notifications, emails, and choices, our mental fuel runs out faster than we realize.
So, if you've ever felt like your brain is full, or if you find it hard to focus on your English lessons after a long day at work, this episode is for you. Liam is going to show us how to protect our brain energy so we can stay sharp, creative, and most importantly, happy.
We'll talk about why your brain is like a bucket, why multitasking is actually a lie, and how to find peace in a city that never sleeps.
I can't wait. So, grab your coffee, find a comfortable spot, whether you're on the subway, in the gym, or at home, and let's get started.
Let's protect that smart brain of yours.
Well, Liam, before we started recording, I was telling you about my morning. I woke up at 6:30 a.m. By 7 a.m., I had already checked my work Slack, scrolled through 3 news apps, and replied to a text from my mom. Actually, by the time I stepped onto the subway, I felt like I had already run a marathon.
That is exactly what we are talking about today, Emma. To be honest, most people start their day by overloading their system before they even have breakfast.
It's true. I feel like my brain has about 50 tabs open at the same time. Like a web browser when you're researching too many things.
That is a perfect metaphor. In psychology, we call that cognitive load. Imagine your working memory, the part of your brain that processes information, as a small table. If you put too many books, laptops, and coffee cups on that table, eventually things start falling off.
So when I forget where I put my keys because I was thinking about an email, that's just a book falling off my mental table?
Precisely. Your brain didn't have enough space to process the location of the keys because it was too busy processing the email. Well, actually, it's even more complex than that. Every bit of information you take in is like adding weight to your backpack while you're climbing a mountain.
I love that. So if we want to reach the top of the mountain, which is a productive workday, we need to be very careful about what we put in that backpack. Okay, let's get a bit more technical, but keep it simple for our English learners. Liam, you mentioned there are different types of this load. Can you explain?
Sure. Think of it this way. There are three types of water pouring into your bucket. First, there is intrinsic load. This is the difficulty of the task itself. For example, if you are learning English grammar, that is naturally hard. You can't avoid that load.
Right, that's the necessary work.
Exactly. Then there is germane load. This is the good stuff, This is the energy your brain uses to actually create new memories and learn. We want to maximize this.
And the third one, I have a feeling this is the one causing me trouble.
You're right. It's called extraneous load. This is the junk information. It's the distracting noise in the office, the flashing ads on your screen, or the confusing layout of a document. It doesn't help you learn, but it takes up space.
Well, to be honest, I think my life is 80% extraneous load. Between the sirens in Manhattan and the constant pinging of my phone, no wonder I can't focus on my English lessons in the evening.
Actually, Emma, that's a very common realization. If we spend all our energy dealing with the noise, we have nothing left for the learning.
You once told me about something called decision fatigue. How does that fit into this cognitive load puzzle?
Well, every decision you make, even a tiny one, consumes cognitive energy. Imagine you're walking down Broadway. You have to decide, do I cross here? Should I buy this bagel? Which coffee size should I get?
I spend way too much time thinking about what coffee to get. Should it be a latte, an Americano, oat milk, or almond milk?
That's the trap. By the time you get to your office at 9 a.m., you have already used up a significant portion of your decision fuel. This is why people like Mark Zuckerberg or the late Steve Jobs wore the same outfit every day.
So they didn't have to waste energy on choosing clothes. That's brilliant.
Exactly. To be honest, for our listeners who are learning English, this is even more important. Speaking a second language requires constant decisions. Which tense do I use? Is it in or on? If your brain is already tired from choosing a bagel, your English will suffer.
That makes a lot of sense. Sometimes my English is great in the morning, but by 5 p.m., I can barely remember how to say hello.
That's not because you forgot English. It's because your cognitive bucket is empty.
Now, we have to talk about the M word, multitasking. I used to be proud of being a multitasker. I could cook, listen to a podcast, and text a friend at the same time.
Well, actually, science has some bad news for you, Emma. The human brain cannot actually multitask. What you're doing is task switching.
Task switching. It sounds like a fast dance.
It is, but it's a very expensive dance. Every time you switch your attention from your cooking to your phone, your brain has to reload the rules for that task. This creates a switching cost.
A switching cost. So I'm paying a tax every time I check my phone.
Precisely. Research suggests that task switching can lower your productivity by up to 40%. It also increases your stress levels significantly.
To be honest, I do feel more stressed when I try to do everything at once. But in New York, everyone is doing 5 things at once. It feels like you're falling behind if you only do one thing.
That's a cultural pressure, but it's a biological mistake. If you want to protect your energy, you must practice monotasking. Do one thing, finish it, move to the next.
Okay, Liam, you've convinced me. My bucket is overflowing, I'm tired of decisions, and multitasking is a lie. How do I fix it? Give us some New York style practical tips.
First, automate. Make your morning a no decision zone. Eat the same breakfast, take the same route, wear similar clothes. Save your energy for the big stuff.
Okay, automate. Got it. What's next?
Second, batch your tasks. Don't check your email every 5 minutes. Check it 3 times a day. Gather all your small tasks and do them all at once in a focus block.
I like that, like email hour or cleaning hour.
Exactly. And third, and this is the hardest one, digital minimalism. Turn off all non-human notifications. If it's not a real person calling you, you don't need a buzz in your pocket.
My phone is going to be very quiet today.
Good. And finally, take brain breaks. A break is not scrolling through Instagram. A real break is looking at a tree, taking a deep breath, or just sitting in silence for 2 minutes.
Well, actually, that sounds like a dream. In a city as loud as this, 2 minutes of silence is the ultimate luxury.
It really is, Emma, and it's a luxury your brain deserves.
We just had a fascinating conversation about protecting our mental fuel. Now it's time to look at our golden words for today. These 6 words will help you talk about your mind and your work like a native speaker here in New York.
That's right, Emma. For our listeners at the A1 to B1 level, these aren't just words, they are tools. If you can use these in an office or with friends, your English will sound much more natural and professional.
Let's dive in. Our first word is a very popular one in modern wellness: mindfulness.
Mindfulness is a noun. In simple terms, it means the state of being fully aware of where you are and what you are doing. It's the opposite of being distracted. When you practice mindfulness, you aren't worrying about your 5 p.m. meeting while you are eating lunch at noon.
I often hear people say, I'm trying to be more mindful. Is that the adjective form?
Exactly. Mindful is the adjective. You can be mindful of your energy. For example, I am mindful of how much time I spend on social media. It's a great word to describe being intentional with your brain space.
That leads perfectly into our second word, a powerful verb: prioritize.
This is essential for survival in a busy city. To prioritize means to arrange things in order of importance. If you have 10 tasks, you prioritize the most urgent ones. In a New York office, your boss might ask, "What are you prioritizing today?"
I usually say, I need to prioritize my English studies over watching Netflix. Is that correct?
Perfect. You are deciding that English is more important. The noun form is priority. You can say, learning English is my top priority this year.
Word number 3 is the core of our topic: cognitive.
This is an adjective related to the mental processes of perception, memory, and reasoning. Basically, it's anything to do with how the brain works. Instead of saying thinking power, we say cognitive capacity. Using this word makes you sound very educated in an academic or professional setting.
So, cognitive load is just a fancy way to say how much my brain is carrying?
Precisely. It's the weight of the information you are processing.
Now, let's talk about a word that describes exactly how I feel on a Friday evening: drained.
Imagine a sink full of water. When you pull the plug, the water is drained away. When we use this for people, it means your energy is at zero. It's much stronger than just saying, I am tired.
To be honest, after a long commute on the subway, I feel totally drained.
That's a very common expression. I feel physically and mentally drained. It tells people that you need deep rest, not just a 5-minute nap.
Our fifth point is a comparison: multitasking versus monotasking.
Multi means many, and mono means one. Multitasking is trying to do many things at the same time, like texting while listening to this podcast. Monotasking is the superpower of doing only one thing with 100% focus.
In New York, everyone brags about multitasking, but you're saying we should brag about monotasking?
Actually, yes, monotasking produces better results. If you are studying English, practice monotasking. Put the phone away and just listen. Your cognitive load will be much lower.
Finally, we have a very serious word that we hear a lot in the news lately: burnout.
This is a noun. Burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It happens when you feel overwhelmed and unable to meet constant demands.
It's like a fire that has gone out, right?
Exactly. You have burned out all your fuel. People often say, I'm on the verge of burnout, which means they are very close to reaching that point. Managing your load today prevents burnout tomorrow.
These 6 words are so useful: mindfulness, prioritize, cognitive, drained, monotasking, and burnout.
My advice to our listeners is don't try to learn all 6 at once. Pick one word today. Write it in your journal. Use it in a sentence. For example, tell a friend, I'm prioritizing my mental health today.
Great advice, Liam. Let's take a short break and then move to our final section. As we come to the end of our time today in the studio, I want to leave you with a final thought. We live in a culture that treats the human brain like a machine. We think we can just press a button and it will run at 100% speed forever.
That's exactly how I've been feeling lately, like a machine that's running out of battery.
Exactly. But your mind is not a machine, Emma. It's more like a garden. If you plant too many seeds at once, the soil becomes tired. If you don't give the garden water and rest, nothing beautiful will grow. Managing your cognitive load is simply the art of being a good gardener for your own mind.
That's a beautiful way to put it. So, protecting our energy isn't about being lazy, it's about being smart.
Precisely. In a city as fast as New York, the most productive thing you can do is sometimes to do nothing at all. Silence is not empty, it is full of recovery. When you clear the junk from your brain, you make room for the things that truly matter, like learning a new language, being present with your family, or finding a creative solution at work.
I think I understand now. Let me see if I can summarize the smart brain philosophy for our listeners. Accept that your mental space is limited. Automate the small stuff so you can focus on the big stuff. Choose one task at a time, the power of monotasking. And remember, a real break means stepping away from all screens.
Perfectly said, Emma. Your attention is your most valuable currency. Don't spend it on things that don't deserve it.
Thank you, Liam. This has been such an eye-opening conversation. And to our listeners, we want to hear from you. What is one small thing you will automate or prioritize today to save your brain energy? Maybe it's choosing your clothes tonight or turning off notifications for an hour.
Every small step counts. Take care of your brain, and it will take care of you.
Stay sharp, stay curious, and keep learning. We will see you in the next episode of Growth English Podcast.